The viral prank that turned into a global scandal overnight. I still remember the moment I thought I'd cracked the code for the perfect prank. My apartment was messy, like every content creator's cave in LA tends to be. Half-empty coffee cups, camera tripods balancing on random surfaces, my laptop perched precariously on a pile of old magazines. But the chaos somehow fueled creativity. I was 29, living alone in Silver Lake, and for the last 5 years, I'd been building a modest social media following with my quirky, harmless pranks. Nothing over the top, nothing cruel, just enough to make strangers laugh while keeping myself mostly sane. That morning, though, I had a different kind of idea. One that made my chest tingle with equal parts excitement and nervous anticipation. The plan was simple in theory: stage a celebrity meltdown in a crowded public space. I envisioned it like a cinematic stunt, hilarious, viral, and totally shareable. I had all the angles mapped in my head. The actor disguised as a paparazzi, the fake celebrity pretending to freak out over the absurdity of fans and chaos, and me lurking just out of sight, capturing it all on multiple cameras. My goal wasn't to humiliate anyone. It was to create a laugh-out-loud spectacle that looked real enough to draw attention without crossing any lines, or so I thought. I spent the next few days meticulously planning every detail. I scouted locations, crowded streets in downtown LA, tourist-heavy areas, and a cafe with a glass facade that allowed for perfect camera placement. I rented actors from a local agency, friends of friends, really, people who could improvise, react naturally, and make the scene believable without causing real panic. I set up hidden cameras in inconspicuous spots, a cafe window, a street lamp, even a fake newspaper stand I wheeled into position. I rehearsed scripts with the actors, tweaked dialogue, and made contingency plans for random variables. Because in LA, anything could happen in public, and I had to be ready. The day of the prank, I was buzzing with energy. I wore casual clothes, jeans, and a hoodie, so I wouldn't stand out while monitoring the scene. My camera bag was slung over my shoulder, stuffed with spare batteries, memory cards, and snacks. Because yes, pranking professionally requires snacks. The celebrity actor arrived first, impeccably styled, sunglasses on, completely in character. The paparazzi actor followed, phone in hand, pretending to snap shots and record video while muttering absurdly specific questions. Do you even like avocado toast? Can you confirm the rumor about the rooftop yoga incident? The dialogue was ridiculous, but that was the point. When I hit record, I felt a thrill that bordered on panic. The actor went through their meltdown, yelling at the invisible fans, pretending to trip over an umbrella stand, flailing dramatically. Perfect chaos. Passersby gawked, some laughed, some filmed on their phones. A few tried to intervene, confused, but our actors handled it smoothly. I darted between cameras, capturing the reactions from every angle. Every detail was perfect, like something out of a viral video blueprint. After 2 hours of filming, I packed up and rushed home, my heart pounding. I transferred footage to my laptop, edited it quickly but carefully, adding dramatic music, captions, and a few comedic sound effects. I uploaded the video to my social media accounts, expecting a few thousand views, a lot of laughs, and maybe a few shares. I went to make coffee, grinning like an idiot, feeling that rush of creative pride. And then, within an hour, everything changed. It started with notifications. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. Comments flooded in. OMG, she actually did it. I can't believe she humiliated that celebrity like that. My stomach dropped. At first, I thought it was positive. The video was clearly funny, right? But scrolling through the comments, I realized something horrifying. People genuinely believed this was real. They didn't see a staged performance. They saw me, the content creator, humiliating an actual celebrity in public. Trolls emerged like a swarm, hungry for digital blood. How could you be so cruel? Call the cops. This is harassment. My mentions exploded. Every post, every story, every tag seemed to spiral further out of my control. Influencers picked it up, sharing clips with exaggerated captions. This influencer destroys a celebrity in public. News outlets, both small blogs and larger platforms, started writing stories. I watched in disbelief as my harmless prank snowballed into a national and soon international debacle. I tried to respond carefully at first, posting clarifications. It staged, all actors, no one was harmed. But every attempt was twisted. Screenshots of my posts were shared without context. Someone edited the video to remove hints that it was staged. Rumors spread faster than I could type a single sentence. My follower count skyrocketed, not because people liked me, but because everyone wanted to witness the drama firsthand. The online mob mentality was intoxicating and terrifying. By the end of the day, I realized the magnitude of what I had unleashed. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages, DMs, emails from confused or outraged fans, and even a few from concerned law enforcement. My friends called repeatedly, some panicked, some laughing nervously, unsure whether to console me or warn me about the storm I'd unleashed. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the actor's meltdown, the crowd's reactions, and the thousands of screens around the world replaying it. misinterpreting it and sharing it as fact. The following morning, the situation worsened. International news outlets reported on the video, framing it as an influencer gone rogue. Hashtags trended globally. Hash celebrity humiliated. Hash prank gone wrong. Hash cancel Tory. My inbox was full of angry messages, some polite, most aggressive. People accused me of ruining someone's life, even though the celebrity was fictional. Memes spread faster than I could blink, distorting the original footage to make it seem like I had done something malicious. I felt like I was trapped inside a digital firestorm, unable to stop the flames. I thought about deleting the video. I really did, but then I realized every time someone sees me trying to fix it, it's proof they were right. Every attempt to clarify became fuel for the fire. I was learning the first brutal lesson of internet fame. Once it starts, you can't control how people interpret it. The narrative is never yours, it belongs to the crowd, and the crowd is unpredictable. Hours turned into days, and I barely left my apartment. I watched the analytics obsessively, seeing the numbers climb in real time. The video had reached millions. Millions. I had gone from a moderately successful content creator to a viral sensation overnight. But not the kind you want. This was fame with teeth. Fame that bit. Every share, every tag, every comment felt like another layer of scrutiny, judgment, and chaos. It wasn't just the internet strangers either. Influencers with bigger platforms than mine jumped in, monetizing outrage. Some tried to expose me, others explained the video to their followers, often claiming expertise they didn't have. I realized there was no controlling this once it escaped my hands. The moment it went viral, it belonged to everyone else, and everyone else interpreted it the way they wanted. By the end of the week, the prank that was supposed to make people laugh had become a case study in online chaos. I had learned, painfully and publicly, that what starts as harmless fun can morph into something uncontrollable in the blink of an eye. And I hadn't even scratched the surface of what was coming next. What started as a harmless prank quickly became a nightmare I couldn't control. And I had no idea who would come after me next. The first chapter of my life as a viral sensation and cautionary tale had begun. I wish I could say I was prepared for what happened next, but honestly, I wasn't even close. The night after the prank went viral, I lay in bed scrolling through my phone like a zombie, my eyes wide, coffee cold on the nightstand. Notifications poured in faster than my brain could process. Each ding was a small stab of panic. Emails, DMs, tweets, Instagram mentions, all buzzing like angry bees, and they weren't happy. At first, I thought it was just trolls, your usual mix of keyboard warriors looking to feel important by shouting at strangers online. But soon, I realized this was bigger. Way bigger. The video had caught the attention of mainstream media outlets. Small blogs picked it up at first, writing half-coherent summaries that already twisted the story. But within hours, bigger names were posting headlines. Influencer publicly humiliates celebrity. Viral video sparks outrage. Who is Tory? My heart sank every time I read a new headline. Headlines that made me look like the villain of a story I never meant to star in. Then came the online detectives. You know, the people who dedicate hours of their lives to zooming in on pixels, reverse searching faces, digging through social media accounts to identify real people. Suddenly, every background actor in my prank was being analyzed like they were suspects in some high-stakes crime. My little joke had turned into a global scavenger hunt, and somehow I was at the center. And the messages. God, the messages. Threats started simple. You're disgusting. Delete this now. Then they escalated. We're coming for you. You'll regret this. Your address better be fake. I tried to rationalize it. People online are crazy, I told myself, but even rationalizing couldn't erase the pit in my stomach. Each notification felt like a hammer hitting my chest. The worst part was the accusations. Harassment, defamation, intentional humiliation, words that carry weight. People believed I had targeted the celebrity on purpose, even though there wasn't a real celebrity involved. No one seemed to notice, or maybe no one cared, that it was all staged. Screenshots of my posts were edited and reshared, clips were slowed down, angles were cropped, captions were added to suggest malicious intent. Someone, or several someones, was actively manipulating the content to make me look worse. I spent hours staring at my laptop, feeling trapped. My carefully orchestrated prank had become a weapon turned against me. Every time I tried to clarify, to explain, to show the behind-the-scenes evidence, it was twisted. A post meant to reassure people that it was all actors was used as proof that I was bragging about humiliating a real person. A video of me laughing at a take was clipped into a mocking the victim montage. Nothing I did helped. In fact, the more I tried to control it, the more it spun out of control. Friends and followers were divided. A few loyal ones defended me fiercely, calling trolls and sharing truth behind the video posts. Others, people I barely knew, joined the pile on. Cancel Tory, one tweet screamed, pinned by a minor influencer with tens of thousands of followers. Some of my followers messaged me privately, saying they couldn't support me if I was that person, and that they were unfollowing. I felt the digital knife twisting in every direction at once. Brands I'd worked with for years suddenly went quiet. Messages from PR teams turned cold. We need to review the situation. Please advise on your statement. We're concerned about backlash. I knew what that meant. Pause or worse. Termination of deals, erasure of collaborations, public distancing. My career, which I'd carefully built over years, felt like it was dangling by a thread. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I noticed something terrifying. Certain clips and posts were being deliberately edited. Scenes that had never even happened in the original prank appeared online, perfectly spliced to make me look malicious. Some were subtle, tiny changes in timing, captions that twisted meaning. Others were aggressive fabrications, like a new angle of the video showing me supposedly harassing someone off camera. It was like someone had decided to turn my life into a horror story and make me the villain. I realized then that this wasn't random internet chaos. This was intentional. Someone was orchestrating this. Whether it was a rival influencer, a disgruntled ex-employee, or a stranger with too much time on their hands, I couldn't tell. But whoever it was knew exactly how to push my buttons, escalate outrage, and maximize virality. And the internet didn't care who was responsible. It only cared about the narrative that made the best drama. I tried to be strategic. I posted carefully worded clarifications. The video was staged, all actors, no one was harmed. This was a prank, please watch the behind the scenes footage. But every single post was twisted. A single typo, a slightly defensive tone, or a sarcastic laugh became ammunition for critics. People accused me of lying, mocking the victim, or even being tone deaf. I started to realize that once a story has legs online, truth is irrelevant. The version people choose to believe is what matters. Sleep became impossible. I stayed up for nights scrolling, watching as threads exploded, hashtags trended, and screenshots of screenshots circulated like wildfire. I felt exposed in a way I had never felt before. My home life, my personality, my humor, my entire creative identity under scrutiny. People weren't just judging the video, they were judging me as a person, a 29-year-old woman who had the audacity to make a joke online. The psychological toll was real. I had panic attacks, nightmares, moments where I just sat in my apartment, staring at my walls, listening to the constant pinging of notifications like a digital heartbeat I couldn't escape. Even my closest friends were wary. They wanted to support me, but they were scared too. Some told me to disappear from social media completely, which I considered, but I knew that vanishing might make things worse. Vanishing would feel like an admission of guilt to the internet mob. Some people tried to reach me offline too. My phone number, somehow leaked through a friend's careless tagging, became public. Strangers called, texted, even left voicemails. I had to block numbers, change accounts, and even consider changing my address. My life had turned into a digital and physical minefield. I remember one night, scrolling through Twitter at 2 a.m., reading a thread where someone had pieced together evidence that I was intentionally targeting the celebrity. The thread had over 50,000 retweets. People were dissecting my every move, my expressions, my editing choices, claiming proof of malice, and the worst part, I couldn't convince them otherwise. Evidence, logic, context, it all vanished in the heat of outrage. I felt powerless, completely powerless. I had created the video, but suddenly, I wasn't the one controlling it anymore. The internet had taken on a life of its own. And the frightening part, it was feeding on itself. Every share, every repost, every angry comment added fuel to a fire I couldn't reach. Every time someone edited or misrepresented the footage, it became another layer of chaos I had to navigate. Eventually, I realized I had two choices: disappear and let the storm rage without me, or face it, trying to steer the narrative, even though I knew it was already partly out of control. Neither option felt safe, and deep down, I had this gnawing suspicion that whoever had started manipulating the clips wasn't done yet. They were enjoying watching me flounder, enjoying seeing the chaos spread. Whoever it was had learned to play the game better than I had. By the time the sun rose, I hadn't slept. My phone buzzed with alerts I couldn't keep up with. Emails, DMs, mentions, news updates, the same few words repeated in every corner of the internet. Harassment, defamation, influencer gone rogue, and beneath it all, a whispering, insidious realization. This was just the beginning. What had started as a silly prank had turned into a storm I had no control over, and I couldn't even see who had lit the match. I closed my laptop, leaned back against my couch, and let out a long, shaky breath. My life, my career, my safety, it all felt like it was dangling by a thread. And as terrifying as it was, a small, stubborn part of me knew one thing. I couldn't just disappear. I had to fight. I had to figure out who was behind this, why they were doing it, and how to reclaim control before the internet devoured me completely. But at that moment, staring at my buzzing phone in the dim light of my apartment, I realized I was fighting against something bigger than me. The internet had already won in one sense. It had taken my prank, my story, and turned it into its own narrative, and I wasn't even in charge anymore. If I thought the internet's response to my prank was intense before, I was absolutely unprepared for what came next. By the third day, the chaos had crossed borders. International news outlets picked up the video, framing it as some kind of social experiment gone horrifically wrong. Headlines ranged from "Influencer goes too far" social media prank backfires, to celebrity harassment or prank, a global debate. The problem was, no one even cared that the celebrity was fake. The story didn't need truth. The story needed drama. I woke up one morning to find messages from friends in Europe, Asia, and Australia, all forwarding links to news stories about Tory's scandal. Some were confused, others were outraged, and a few even congratulated me on exposing celebrity culture. I hadn't even had coffee yet, and I was already drowning in notifications. My phone buzzed nonstop. I couldn't escape it. Not in the shower, not in the kitchen, not even for a second while I tried to eat. Every ding felt like an electric shock. Then the doxing began. It started small, a post showing my neighborhood, which I had never publicly tagged. Then it escalated. Old photos from college, screenshots of private DMs, even my home address. I felt my stomach drop every time I saw another leak. I suddenly understood why people say the internet can feel like a predator stalking you in real life. I locked down everything I could. Social media accounts, email, two-factor authentication, changing passwords. But it wasn't enough. Once your information is out there, it's out, and there's no rewind button. Sponsors began pulling out. Companies I had worked with for years sent me emails. We're reviewing our partnership. Please advise on your statement. We've decided to pause collaborations due to potential backlash. Essentially, they were dropping me. My career, which had been built carefully over nearly a decade, was being dismantled in real time. I tried to explain that the video was staged, harmless, even funny, but no one cared. In the eyes of corporations, controversy equals risk, and risk equals loss. The backlash wasn't limited to brands or media. My followers were split down the middle. Some of my biggest fans stuck by me, sharing screenshots that proved the video was staged, writing long posts defending me. But others, they joined the digital mob. They created threads, memes, and commentary videos that made me look cruel, manipulative, and downright evil. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. People I had met in real life, friends I thought I could trust, started messaging me with veiled criticisms or passive-aggressive advice. It was like watching a slow-motion demolition of my social life. And then, patterns started emerging. It wasn't random. Certain edits, certain clips, and certain narratives kept appearing, and they weren't coming from trolls. They were coordinated. Someone was actively feeding the frenzy, pushing specific angles to ensure maximum outrage. I had a sinking feeling it wasn't a faceless hacker or random fan. No, this felt personal, calculated, deliberate. I started retracing my steps, thinking of everyone I had crossed paths with in the content world. A rival influencer immediately came to mind, someone who had been quietly competitive with me for years, who had publicly mocked my work a few times but had never gone this far. And then there were ex-colleagues, a few friends, turned enemies, even people from my past I hadn't spoken to in years. Whoever it was had knowledge, skills, and the intent to hurt me, and the internet was the perfect weapon. The stress was unbearable. Every day brought new legal threats, letters from law firms claiming defamation, cease and desist demands from lawyers I had never heard of, and emails from PR firms advising me to tread lightly. I had to hire my own lawyer quickly, but even that felt like throwing gasoline on the fire. Legal battles are publicized, they give the mob more fuel. Every action I took to protect myself seemed to provide another layer of narrative for them to manipulate. The psychological toll was brutal. Panic attacks became a daily occurrence. There were nights I would sit on the floor of my apartment in the dark, phone buzzing on the couch, laptop screen glowing with endless outrage, wondering how my life had become this. I cried at times, screamed at times, and often just stared blankly, completely paralyzed. I couldn't trust anyone online, not even people who claimed to be helping. Anyone could be feeding information to the wrong hands. I had to develop a strategy. I couldn't fight the internet head on. It was like trying to swim against a tsunami. I had to be smarter, subtle, strategic. Step 1. Gather evidence. I started archiving every manipulated clip, every edited screenshot, every malicious post. I documented everything meticulously, noting dates, times, and origins. Step 2. Find the orchestrator. Whoever was behind this escalation had a style, and patterns leave clues. Step 3. Control what I could. My posts, my statements, and my own social media presence had to be carefully crafted, measured, and intentional. One misstep, one sarcastic comment, one defensive post, and the mob would strike again. But even with strategy, the sensation of being hunted never left me. The feeling that millions of people were watching, judging, analyzing, and speculating was suffocating. I couldn't go outside without wondering if someone recognized me taking photos or videos to twist into a new scandal. Every ping of my phone was a reminder that my life was public property now, and I was just a character in the story everyone else was writing. I tried talking to friends, but even that was complicated. Some wanted to protect me, but they were also afraid. Some told me to ignore it, while others warned that ignoring it might make things worse. Every conversation felt like a minefield. I realized that in the era of viral outrage, trust was not just rare, it was dangerous. And yet, amid the chaos, a tiny spark of determination grew. I had to find a way to regain control, even if it meant navigating a web of lies, manipulation, and global attention. I had to remember who I was. Not just Tori, the influencer, not just Tori, the viral prankster, but Tori, the person with the intellect, wit, and resilience to fight this. I had to be careful, yes, but I also had to be bold. So I started planning. Step 1, map the spread of the misinformation, identify the sources and patterns. Step 2, build a controlled narrative that could counter the manipulated clips without feeding them more fuel. Step 3, prepare legally, emotionally, and strategically for the person or people behind the escalation. This wasn't just about the prank anymore. This was about survival, reclaiming my life, and exposing the manipulation without letting the situation get worse. By the end of the week, I realized something terrifying. The more I tried to fight it, the faster the scandal spread. Soon, I wasn't just a prankster, I was public enemy number 1. Headlines didn't ask if I was guilty or innocent. They asked why this had happened, who else was involved, and what the fallout would be. News cycles ran 24/7, memes turned into mainstream discussions, and even academic papers analyzing the viral prank gone wrong began circulating. I sat on my couch one night, staring at my laptop, thinking about how quickly everything had spiraled. The prank that was supposed to make people laugh had become a global spectacle of outrage, fear, and speculation. And deep down, I knew there was someone orchestrating it, watching me squirm, enjoying every moment of my panic. Whoever they were, they had underestimated one thing. I wasn't going to go down quietly. I was going to figure this out. I had to. The problem was, I had no idea what I was walking into next. I knew I couldn't keep running. By now, the prank that started as a harmless joke had consumed nearly every corner of my life. I was a viral sensation, but not the kind anyone wanted to celebrate. I was public enemy number 1, a target for the world's scrutiny. But hiding, panicking, or trying to delete my existence wasn't an option anymore. I had to find the person, or people, who had weaponized my prank and turned my life into a digital circus. I had to expose the puppeteer. I started piecing together the evidence like a detective, even though I wasn't one. I analyzed every clip, every post, every edit that had surfaced online since the scandal began. Something about the timing, the style of edits, the accounts posting manipulated content, it all started to make sense. Whoever was orchestrating this had experience with viral content and PR manipulation. This wasn't random. This was calculated, methodical, and cruel. Then I noticed a pattern. Certain accounts consistently uploaded misleading clips first, before any major media outlet picked them up. Some of these accounts had a strange familiarity. Their tone, their editing style, even the way they captioned posts reminded me of someone I'd crossed paths with years ago. A name started to stand out. Lila Hart. She was a rival influencer, someone who had always been competitive but had kept her antagonism subtle until now. Lila had the reach, the resources, and the motivation to do this. I remembered her mocking me publicly in the past, her sly digs in comment threads, and the way she always tried to upstage me. But I never imagined she could go this far. Once I identified her as the likely orchestrator, I became methodical. I created a private spreadsheet, documenting every manipulated clip, the accounts sharing them, the timestamps, and the links back to Lila's known networks. I cross-referenced metadata when I could, noted IP addresses and anomalies, and collected screenshots. My apartment quickly resembled a command center. Sticky notes on the walls, multiple monitors, and my laptop surrounded by notebooks filled with meticulous notes. I wasn't just trying to survive. I was going on the offensive, but I had to be smart. I couldn't let anyone know I was gathering evidence, not Lila, not her allies, and certainly not the internet mob waiting for my next mistake. I learned quickly that social media fame is a weapon and a cage at the same time. Every post, every move could be scrutinized, twisted, and used against you. I had to control the narrative carefully. The next step was documenting everything convincingly. I started filming my own evidence, a behind-the-scenes chronicle of how the prank was staged, showing timestamps, scripts, actors, and my own preparation. I compared these clips side by side with the manipulated ones circulating online, highlighting the discrepancies, the edits, the fabrications. Every misleading claim Lila's team had made was countered with clear, undeniable proof. Then came the exposure itself. I crafted a post carefully, like a chess move, knowing the stakes were enormous. The post was long, detailed, and included side-by-side comparisons of real and fake clips, screenshots, and commentary explaining the timeline. I framed it as a truth thread, not just to defend myself, but to expose how online mobs, fake clips, and manipulative influencers can distort reality. I hit post and held my breath. The reaction was immediate. Within hours, the thread went viral. People shared it, debated it, and dissected it, just like before. But this time, the narrative shifted in my favor. Memes now celebrated my clever exposure. Journalists highlighted the story as an example of manipulation in the age of social media. And influencers who had previously joined the pylon were forced to retract statements or apologize. I had taken control of the narrative and the world was listening. But it wasn't just public vindication that mattered, it was personal. I had survived the storm. I had learned that social media fame is a double-edged sword. It can amplify your work, your voice, and your reach, but it can also amplify malice, misunderstanding, and manipulation. I had been naive to think a harmless prank could exist in a vacuum, untouched by the dynamics of the online ecosystem. I had learned how quickly chaos can escalate, how relentless online mobs can be, and how careful you have to be with every post, every clip, every interaction. My reputation slowly began to rebuild. Brands reached out cautiously, curious but wary, asking if I was open to collaboration again. Friends returned, cautiously supportive, recognizing how orchestrated the attacks had been. And me, I became more cautious, more strategic, and infinitely wiser about the digital world I had chosen as my stage. I wasn't naive anymore. I understood that control is always partial, that virality can be a curse, and that truth is sometimes secondary to the story the internet wants to tell. Most importantly, I reclaimed agency. I had been hunted, manipulated, and misrepresented, but by exposing the puppeteer and documenting the truth meticulously, I turned the tables. I had shown the world that there's always a person behind the narrative, sometimes more cunning than you imagine, but also that careful, deliberate truth can cut through the chaos. And yet, even with the vindication, I couldn't ignore the broader lesson. The internet thrives on drama, misinterpretation, and spectacle. People don't hate you. They love the story, and the story doesn't always need truth. That realization stayed with me long after the headlines faded, long after the harassment subsided, and long after the last manipulated clip was deleted. I sat in my apartment one evening, reflecting on everything that had happened. I felt stronger, smarter, and more cautious, but also a little melancholic. The world had watched me get torn apart and then rebuild myself, all because of a prank. I had learned that fame is fleeting, outrage is temporary, but the lessons are permanent. And I made a choice. If I ever created again, I would do so carefully, intentionally, and on my terms. I would embrace the drama, yes, but I would own it fully. In the end, I realized the world didn't hate me. They just loved the drama more than the truth. And I decided to give them both on my terms. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year, and we'd love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.